Well, what happened?
He ate an edible.
Oh no.
Yeah, I told him to eat half, but he ate the whole thing.
I don't know why people do that. Hey, what's going on?
He ate an edible.
Incredible.
Not incredible, actually. I think he's in some sort of prison of his own mind.
Yeah, maybe try doing some arts and crafts to like get a little creative.
Yeah, we tried. He just ended up drawing a picture of himself walking up a long staircase towards a black hole he's labeled hell.
Walking up towards hell. That's interesting.
Seems deliberate, no?
Like he's choosing it. Yeah. Also, he gave himself little lobster hands, which I find interesting.
That is an interesting choice.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on here?
He ate an edible.
Oh no. What did he say?
He said, "What is I am not real, boy?"
Straight up not even English.
He's speaking in Jeopardy answers.
Here, let me put something on.
What's this?
It's a video of a chameleon hatching from an egg. It always calms me down. Something's happening.
Sometimes it's just good to feel something, right, buddy?
You're gonna get through this, man.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's Wednesday, and I hope you had a good 420. Hope you guys, smoked a bunch of weed and hung out and watched some videos and things like that. Netflix, there's a bunch of stuff on Netflix. Anyway, so today we have one story. Actually, I came across this article of this guy not some random guy, the DEA of El Paso, who's talking about New Mexico legalization and whether or not that would actually make the state any money. And he says here, I'll put it up on the side, he claims here, what has happened in Colorado, for example, for every $1 of tax revenue they've received from legalizing marijuana, there was a $4.50 health care cost to the state. In the long run, I don't believe the scales are balanced there. So this I hadn't heard before, and I was kind of curious whether or not that was actually true and where he even got this statistic. He doesn't really cite any study or say anything about it. So I kind of looked it up, and I found one study that came out of Colorado that kind of took data from 2010 to 2014 here. Here's a bunch of stuff on it. I didn't read the whole study, however, the conclusions here state recreational cannabis legalization is associated with neutral effects on healthcare utilization. What this is basically saying is that there isn't a big increase in healthcare cost because of marijuana being added to it. And so this kind of goes almost exactly against what the DEA here was saying, because this is also from Colorado, and he cited Colorado as being the state that had the increase. So I kept on looking, and I was like, this is really, I wonder where he got his sources and where he was told this. It brings to mind what we had talked about before, which is how you can really cherry pick data and you can decide what you want to kind of focus on. So I went and found some more studies. This one is out of Connecticut, and it's a projected study. So this is saying the cost of healthcare if they were to legalize marijuana in Connecticut. This one is basically saying that the cost of healthcare increases would be so much more so than the actual tax revenue that they'd create from marijuana. And I read some of it. There was this one part, though, however, that made me think that the fact that it was so projected, it's difficult to discern whether or not this is actually accurate or not. Okay, so here it says in 2013, the state received reports of 32,000 non-fatal injuries related to roadway crashes. In 2016, there were 38,000, a 6.3% average annual increase. Assuming this trend continues throughout 2020, the state would see 58,000 total non-fatal injuries in 2020. And that made me pause there, because why would you assume that trend is increasing? Are you assuming there are more crashes every year just because it's a new year and people are getting worse at driving? Like, what exactly is the assumption there? And why is 2016 not just a blip of a year, or just having more crashes than there were in 2013? It's a strange assumption to say that because there is a 6.3 increase from 2013 to 2016, then that trend would continue. So I got hung up on that point, and where this does feel pretty accurate and definitely cause for concern that there are probably some sorts of healthcare cost increases because of the legalization of marijuana and more people smoking marijuana, just because of the amount of people now driving while high. I don't know how much I can trust what is in this actual study here. So I continued on and found this one article from the Showbiz cheat sheet. I have no idea what this website is, but an interestingly written article about the effects and whether or not it does actually increase. And it takes cigarettes and alcohol as an example before it goes into marijuana. According to the article, between 2009 and 2012, there was a $289 billion cost for people smoking cigarettes, which is just astronomical and insane. And the highest reports of what a federal marijuana legalization would give is like about $18 billion in tax revenue. So if marijuana costs, healthcare costs would be anywhere near that, then obviously it would just be so much more costly than beneficial. It goes into the alcohol then as well and says that America has lost $223.5 billion due to alcohol use alone, and that number is likely to have climbed higher by now, and that was just in the year 2006. However, then the article kind of goes on to say, we know that marijuana is not addictive. We know that it is not as dangerous, not anywhere near as dangerous as cigarettes or alcohol. We know that it can't be abused. And we also know that it gets people off of these other drugs. So there are so many ripple effects that happen from the legalization of marijuana that cannot possibly be quantified. You can quantify the healthcare costs of adding a new drug, and you can kind of quantify that, but you cannot quantify what it is subtracting from other parts, like say less people smoke cigarettes because they're now smoking weed. These things we wouldn't know until we see maybe 10 years of data where we can actually see a bump and a reduction in other fields. This article then made me realize, going back to the first one of the DEA from El Paso, he can cherry pick whatever data he wants and create whatever argument you'd like to. It's not going to be the full picture, and it never will be the full picture. When it comes to whether or not the tax revenue will be worth it for a state, or whether or not the tax revenue will be worth it for the nation, that's maybe not where the conversation should be, because of all of the other factors that go into it and all of the other complex factors that go into it that we just can't possibly see now and won't be able to see for another many years. So conversations that are more targeted to criminal justice reform and getting people out of jail who have been put there for reasons dealing with marijuana, that's something that is easily quantifiable. That's something that is easy for people to get behind. That feels like a much stronger viewpoint than talking about the tax revenue that marijuana will create for a state.
When I'm peeing in a toilet, I don't pee directly into the water. I pee on the curved part of the bowl beside the water because I figure it splashes less. But when you're peeing that close to the edge, the sporadic tiny offshoots of pee become a greater threat. I'm not sure if the accumulation of these offshoots is greater than the potential splashback from peeing mid-bowl. It's possible that I'm thinking about this too much, but it's also possible that I'm not thinking about this enough. It's possible.
Okay, that was our little deep dive today. The last thing is just a quick video from Jen Psaki. She was asked questions about marijuana and Biden's positions on marijuana since yesterday was 4/20, and this is what she said.
I'd like to ask a question about, since this is 4/20, as Senator Chuck Schumer said from the Senate floor, he called it the unofficial American marijuana holiday, and he said that he now supports legalizing marijuana on a national level. Is this something that President Biden would support?
Well, the president supports leaving decisions regarding legalization for recreational use up to the states, rescheduling cannabis as a Schedule II drug so researchers can study its positive and negative impacts. And at the federal level, he supports decriminalizing marijuana use and automatically expunging any prior criminal records. He also supports legalizing medicinal marijuana. So that's his point of view on the issue.
So if the House and Senate pass a bill legalizing marijuana at a federal level, would the president sign it?
Well, I just have outlined what his position is, which isn't the same as what the House and Senate have proposed, but they have not yet passed a bill.
So leaving a little bit of anticipation there, whether or not he would sign a bill if it ever came to his desk. I think he will. But anyway, that's our show today. We'll see you on Friday.